The whole country was feeling jubilant, excited and over-exuberant. We conquered round Trafalgar Square. Hey, 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 VE Day. Say, do you remember VE Day? That brilliant two-day bender. VE Day. Peace was finally here to stay. I went to London. God save the king, bells were ringing. There was dancing and snogging and singing. 1 million people on the streets or more. The royal family appeared at times on the balcony. The masses are cheering and happy, though I found it quite hard to see. Hey, 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 VE Day, a sunny day in May. VE Day, we could turn the lights on, yay! VE Day, peace was finally here to stay. VE Day, the allies, we were stronger. VE Day, come on, let's do the conga. VE Day, wish the party lasted longer. VE Day, all red, white and blue. VE Day, after all that we've gone through. VE Day, why do we still have the queue?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our whole school assembly on Wednesday, the 6th of May, 2020. Today, we are thinking about VE Day and making our preparations for our local celebrations tomorrow, when from 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock, we're going to have a live broadcast bringing you lots of fantastic music and thinking back to that time 75 years ago when victory was declared. And today in Assembly, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about VE Day and just talk about what it is and have a little think together about why it's such a special time for us all to remember. It'd be great to see who's watching this morning. I can see that the Baker family are watching. Good morning, Bakers. Thank you for joining us this morning. I can see that Alfie's watching as well. Hello there, everyone, and welcome. It's great that so many people can join us live across Facebook and YouTube this morning as we prepare for what is a very special and important day for us all. So what is VE Day? Well, VE Day is known as Victory in Europe Day, and it took place on May the 8th, 1945, which is exactly 75 years ago on Friday. It was a public holiday, just like it will be on Friday, and a day of celebration to mark the defeat of Germany by the Allied forces in the Second World War. VE Day marked the formal conclusion of the war with Germany and brought to an end 6 years of suffering, courage, and endurance across the world. How do you think it felt when the war was finally ended? I'd love to know what you think in the comment section there. Do you think people were really happy? Do you think they were celebrating? Do you think it might have been mixed with sadness about what had happened as well? Have a chat with your families and see what you think about that. What do you think it felt like when the war was finally over? I think there'll be a mixture of emotions. Lots of happiness, no doubt, because the war was finally over, but maybe some sadness about the people that have been lost. But it was certainly a time to celebrate. People ran out to the streets, hanging bunting and banners, and they were dancing. Church bells wailed and pealed across the country to share the news that there was peace in Europe. Everybody brought out food to share at street parties. And on Tuesday, May the 8th, there was a national day of celebration, Victory in Europe Day. Now, as part of our Victory in Europe Day, we're going to learn 3 songs. And in this morning's Good Morning Pow, I introduced those 3, and we're going to pick up those 3 throughout this assembly. And the first one of those is Run, Rabbit, Run. And here's Tom with an introduction.
Hello, I'm Tom Carradine, here to teach you the first song for our very special VE Day sing-along on the 7th of May. This song is called Run, Rabbit, Run. This popular World War II sing-along song was written in 1939 and made famous by the English comedy duo Flanagan and Allen. It gained even more popularity after Flanagan and Allen recorded a version where they changed the lyrics to poke fun at the Germans, which helped to raise British spirits. On the farm, every Friday, on the farm, it's rabbit pie day, but every Friday that ever comes along, I get up early and sing this little song. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun. So run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Don't give the farmer his fun, fun, fun. He'll get by without his rabbit pie. So run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Here we go, one more time, your turn this time. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Bang, 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 bang goes the farmer's gun. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run. Don't give the farmer his fun, fun, fun. He'll get by without his rabbit pie. So run, rabbit, run, rabbit, run, run, run.
Oh, would help if I wasn't muted my microphone there. Let's say that again. It really was time to celebrate. The capital city, London, was really the place to be on VE Day. Anyone who could reach the city did so. The centre of London was full of people wearing red, white and blue, just like we're going to do tomorrow, wear red, white and blue. And people were waving flags and dancing and singing. Fireworks filled the sky with flashes of light. And it's lovely that lots of you are joining us for this assembly this morning when we're thinking about VE Day. Hello to Isabel, who's joining us. Hello from Lily. And hello from the Scott family who are tuning in. Thank you very much for joining us live. And hello from Philippa. Earlier on, I asked you what it must have felt like on VE Day. And the Bullocks have replied. Joel says, sad if they had lost family, but happy it was finished. Yeah, I think you're right, Joel. I think it would have been a mixture of emotions. And I think that's a good reflection there. Thank you for sharing. And lots of people, though, they did celebrate. And on VE Day, everyone, both in London and at home, was sitting ready by their wireless sets. That's their radios. Because they wanted to hear one man, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister. And at 3 p.m., the Prime Minister broadcasts to the nation to declare the German war is at an end. The war was over. And we're going to pick up our second song now with Tom that we're going to use to celebrate VE Day.
Hello, I'm Tom Carradine, here to teach you the second song for our very special VE Day sing-along on the 7th of May. This song is called Mairzy, Doats and Dozy, Doats. This novelty song was written in 1943 and originally recorded by the American band The Merry Macs. It became a hit in the UK when it was brought across by American servicemen stationed over here during the Second World War. The nonsense lyrics are believed to be based on an old English nursery rhyme. Oh, Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats, a little lambsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Oh, Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats, a little lambsy divey, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? If the words sound queer and funny to your ear, a little bit jumbled and jivey, sing mares eat oats and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. Oh, Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats, and little lambs eat ivy, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? A kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? There we go, your turn this time. Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats and little lambsy diving, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Oh, Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats and little lambsy diving, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? If the words sound queer and funny to your ear, a little bit jumbled and jiving, sing Mairs eat oats and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. Oh, Mairzy Doats and Dozy Doats and little lambsy diving, a kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? A kiddly divey too, wouldn't you?
And thank you, Tom, for that fantastic. Thank you, Tom and Paul, for that fantastic video. Great to hear. Now, the crowds gathered in Trafalgar Square and up the Mall. They were waiting for Winston Churchill and King George VI to make an appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. We're now going to watch this short film about what it was like in London on VE Day. Ooh, I hope we will.
Yesterday morning at 2:41 a.m. at General Eisenhower's headquarters, General Jodl, the representative of the German High Command, and of Grand Admiral Dönitz, the designated head of the German state, signed the act of unconditional surrender of all German land, sea, and air forces in Europe to the Allied Expeditionary Forces and simultaneously to the Soviet High Command. Hostilities will end officially at 1 minute after midnight tonight, Tuesday, the 8th of May. But in the interest of saving lives, the ceasefire began yesterday to be sounded along all the fronts. The German war is therefore at an end. We may allow ourselves a brief period of rejoicing. Today is Victory in Europe Day.
This was the moment we'd all been waiting for. Enormous crowds had gathered outside the House and all over the centre of London to hear the end of the war in Europe officially announced by the Prime Minister. True, VE Day had been anticipated by the people of London, who had been celebrating the previous evening. But this was the real moment, and this is how Winston Churchill ended his broadcast.
Advance, Britannia! Long live the cause of freedom! God save the King!
After the Premier had repeated his announcement to the House of Commons, the Speaker led a procession of members, headed by Mr. Churchill and Mr. Greenwood, across to St. Margaret's for a victory Thanksgiving service. Meanwhile, of course, Londoners had begun their non-stop two-day celebration. The end of the German war had come 11 months after the landings in Normandy. V-Day came less than a year after D-Day. But it was the end of nearly 6 years of war in Europe. No wonder people went a bit crazy. And this was it in the West End. All over the capital, as indeed in towns and cities throughout the country, it was the same story. This was it in Lambeth Walk.
You can almost bet when the Lambeth people are about, there'll only be one winner. That's the Lambeth people will fight anybody in the United Kingdom or outside the United Kingdom. What do you think?
Almost right up to the end, London and southern England had been under fire. London certainly had as much right as anywhere to celebrate victory, and London certainly did. Naturally, approaches to Buckingham Palace were almost continually jammed. Vast crowds outside the palace cheering and waiting. And when the royal family appeared first by themselves and later with Winston Churchill, how they cheered.
Just going to pause the video there a second. I wonder if any of you can tell me, those that are watching, who this young lady on the left here is. This lady in the left-hand side of the picture. It'd be great if anyone watching is able to let us know that. While I do that, a few other people saying hello. Hello to Philippa, who's joining us. Hello to Rosa. Thank you very much for joining us. This is all part of our VE Day preparations. And it's really interesting watching that footage back from 1945, the end of World War II. All those people out in the streets celebrating. The news had come through the night before, but people waited to that day and for Winston Churchill to give that speech at 3 o'clock when he declared that the war was over. And at that point, when the war was over, people rejoiced and celebrated. And there was lots of dancing on the streets and people sharing all sorts of different things. And they had food and they drank and they celebrated together. And it was really a truly very special time. A few people giving me some guesses about who that person is on the left. I'll just wait a couple more seconds, see if there's any more guesses of who that might be on the left-hand side there. Someone that's very, very famous right now, actually. And I've got a couple of guesses here. Rosa says that it's Elizabeth, our queen now. That's right, it's Queen Elizabeth II when she was a princess. And on the right is her mother, the Queen Mother, who was King George VI's wife, the Queen. So at the time, she would have been the King and Queen at the time. And King George VI was the Queen's father, who was king during the war. And during the war, Her Royal Highness Queen Elizabeth II, she actually served in the forces. She worked, and you can see here that she's in her military uniform. And lots of people saying here, look, it's the Queen. The Downs are saying the Queen, the Scots are saying the Queen, and Austin saying Queen Elizabeth II. That's right. And it turns out that on that day, you saw how many people were waiting outside Buckingham Palace. The royal family actually came out onto their balcony 8 times that day because so many people were there and wanted to see them and celebrate. And now you may have seen pictures before when there's been a royal celebration, maybe a royal wedding, and there's been a big moment when they've all come out onto that special balcony and people have waved and cheered. And normally that might happen once, or maybe if it's extra special twice. But this was such an important day that it happened 8 times on that day. Let's see what happened next.
All day long and through most of the night, London's millions kept it up. The real lights of London were not yet on, but that wasn't going to stop the celebration for a second. Everyone realized perfectly well that although the German war was over, the Japanese war was not. But for 48 hours at least, rejoicing was off the ration.
Now, it's really special to look back at those scenes and to think about what it must have been like 75 years ago to celebrate the end of the war. And tomorrow, as we come together and we sing those first two songs, the final song that we're going to sing together is probably the most famous song. And it's a song that the nation will join together tomorrow on Friday at 9 o'clock to sing together. But we are going to join together tomorrow at 4 o'clock to sing We Will Meet Again. And it's a really poignant song, particularly at the moment where we're all having to stay at home because of the coronavirus. And actually the Queen herself used those words, "We'll meet again," in her speech that she gave to the nation about the coronavirus. So they're really special words. And we're going to remember that song, and we're going to help to learn that song now, going back to one of Tom's videos, and we're going to finish our assembly with "We'll Meet Again."
Hello, Tom Caroline here again to teach you our final song, the third song for our very special VE Day sing-along on the 7th of May. This is perhaps one of the most famous songs from the Second World War and is called "We'll Meet Again."
This song was written at the outbreak of World War II in 1939 and made famous by the English singer Vera Lynn. Vera Lynn was known as the force's sweetheart for giving outdoor concerts for the troops in Egypt, India, and Burma during the war. Perhaps the secret to the song's success is that the lyrics meant something to both the soldiers going off to fight, as well as their families and sweethearts at home.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know where, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know, tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. One more time, this time it's your turn. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know, tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll again some sunny day.